Get ready to uncover the chilling secrets of the past as we delve into the terrifying archaeological discoveries that have left experts in shock and disbelief. The study of human history and prehistory through the excavation and examination of objects and buildings is called archaeology. While many archaeological finds provide new information about past civilizations and cultures, some have been downright terrifying. In this video, we will be sharing several terrifying archaeological discoveries that have been made in recent history. Let's begin. Decapitated gladiators. Skeletons from tall men who passed away before age 45 were found in York, England. They were all horrifying because they had all lost their heads. Sometimes on their chests, other times between their legs or feet, their heads were buried with them. Most skeletons at the Driffield Terrace were beheaded, but researchers don't know why. Between the 2nd and 4th century AD, these artifacts were created while the region was a part of the Northern Roman Empire. They might be the bones of gladiators because the majority of the skeletons were exceptionally tall and displayed evidence of trauma. They might also have been men in the military. According to a DNA investigation, 6 of the 7 decapitated skeletons were from Britain, while 1 may have been from Lebanon or Syria. Evidence of war. In what is now Kenya, something terrible occurred some 10,000 years ago. Trauma caused the death of 27 persons, including men, women, and children. Their bones were found in Lake Turkana sediments in 2012, and the traces left by blunt weapons like clubs and pointed projectiles like arrows can be seen. According to archaeologists, the size of the group suggests ancient combat rather than a bloody family conflict. One woman, shown below, was discovered with both knees fractured and her hands outstretched, raising the possibility that she had been bound. Pit of Death. In 2012, a real estate development project in France revealed something quite shocking: a bone-filled trench 5 feet in diameter and 6.5 feet or 2 meters deep. Even more horrifying, the bones included infant, toddler, and adult skeletons, and severed arms, fingers, and hands. Researchers discovered at least 7 upper arms, one of which belonged to a young adolescent. 7 bodies, including the body of a middle-aged guy who had his arm hacked off and taken a blow to the head, had also been dumped into the pit in addition to the amputated limbs. These bones have a 5,335-year age. Toothy tumor. Spanish archaeologists were taken aback by what they discovered in a Roman woman's pelvis when they discovered her 1,600-year-old skeleton. A calcified bone ball with 4 misaligned teeth protracted from her hip area. This unsettling finding turned out to be an ovarian teratoma, a tumor that develops from germ cells. Because germ cells develop into human egg cells, they can create body parts like teeth and bones. Most teratomas are benign, just like the one in the pelvis of the Roman woman. Archaeologists believe the woman could have eventually died from tumor complications, although she may not have been aware of the toothy object's presence inside her abdomen. Polish vampire burials. Perhaps even creepier than the fictitious Dracula legends is the truth about vampires in Eastern Europe. Some persons were buried in Poland between the 1600s and 1700s with sickles around their necks, or rocks tucked under their chins. These safety measures were implemented to stop the dead from returning as vampires, which villagers believed would return to feed on the blood of friends and relatives. Researchers discovered in 2014 that the vampire burials in Poland's Drosko Cemetery contained the remains of residents who had not experienced trauma. According to the researchers, they were probably victims of a cholera pandemic that quickly killed them. Remnants of a witch hunt. It's only sometimes necessary for an archaeological find to feature bones for it to be upsetting. In a church from the 15th century, such a thing can be found in Aberdeen, Scotland. An iron ring-set stone pillar in the chapel may have been used to detain suspected witches in 1597. The Great Witch Hunt was a series of witch trials held in Aberdeen that year. In 8 months, 400 people were tried and 200 were put to death. The fatalities were graphic. In one of the most well-known cases, Jane Wishart and her son Thomas Laius were found guilty. They were both burned after being strangled. Civil War Massacre. At Durham University in northeastern England, an effort to expand the library resulted in the discovery of 17th century suffering. Archaeologists conducting pre-construction excavations uncovered 2 mass graves with 1,700 skeletons that date to the mid-1600s. The skeletons are most likely the remains of Scottish POWs who were captured during the Third English Civil War, a conflict between royalists who supported King Charles II and parliamentarians led by Oliver Cromwell. The fact that the skeletons belonged to men between the ages of 13 and 25 suggests that these men were soldiers. They exhibited few indications of trauma and likely passed away from illness while being held captive before being buried in unmarked mass graves. Mummified lung. Complete mummies are unsettling. But when a sarcophagus is opened and all that is within is a skeleton and a single leathery lung, you know you've entered some pretty eerie ground. When archaeologists opened a stone coffin at the Basilica of Saint Denis in Paris in 1959, they had exactly that experience. The relics belonged to Arnagunda, a queen who reigned between approximately AD 515 and 580. It was completely unknown for a very long time why Arnagunda's lung had mummified while her body had completely deteriorated. But in April 2016, scientists revealed their solution at a meeting in Germany. Arnagunda's lung had significant amounts of copper as well as chemical residues of plant chemicals. It's possible that embalming fluid comprised of herbs and spices was injected down Arnagunda's throat and wound up in her lung after she passed away. The queen was buried with a belt made of copper alloy. Because copper possesses antibacterial qualities, the single organ was probably maintained by combining embalming herbs and metal. Bones in a tree. A skeleton with a dogwood tree growing through it was found in a case featured in an episode of the crime drama Bones from Season 6. Similar events took place in Ireland. However, the tree in question was a beech. In Collooney, Ireland, a 215-year-old tree fell over in a winter storm in 2015. There was a pile of bones entangled in the roots. They were revealed to be the property of a young boy who passed away between 1030 and 1200. The youngster had knife wounds on his ribs and hands, adding to the creepiness of the discovery and indicating that he had died violently. Ancient cold case. Skull fractures on a 430,000-year-old skeleton discovered in a Spanish cave indicate that murder most vile was most likely the cause of death. Along with the victim's remains, bones from 28 other people of various Homo species were discovered in a cave in the Atapuerca Highlands. This location may be one of the oldest discovered burial places because the dead appear to have been moved there on purpose. Researchers believe that the wounds discovered on the skull cannot be explained by a fall or post-mortem damage, even though the sex and even the species of the murder victim are still unknown. It's safe to state that after 430,000 years, the murderer is not still at large, regardless of whether the murder weapon was a spear or an axe. That is all for this video. We will be back soon with another informative video. Remember to like and share this video. Until next time!